Welcome back, everyone. Unfortunately, we have no J-Bait updates for now, except from the fact I think she may still be held in the psych ward, or if she's very unlucky, in prison. There has been some speculation, but ultimately we're not talking about that today. If there are updates, I will tell you. I've also got a video on our best friend Anna coming up and her interesting surgery results. But for now, we're not going to talk about that. We're not talking about other people. Today, we are talking about me. And more importantly, how I lost 40 pounds since, I believe, August with Hashimoto's disease. Everyone in the fitness slash weight loss community hears Hashimoto's and kind of collectively groans, because I'd say it is the most frequently used excuse for obesity. And it may be quite controversial phrasing it like that, as by saying it's an excuse, but I'm kind of going to get into why that is. If you don't know what Hashimoto's is, I do have another video on that, but basically it's where your immune system attacks your thyroid and it basically stops working over time. That's really all you need to know for today's video. I'm sure if you actually have it like I do, you probably already know stuff about it, so I'm not going to waste everyone's time and get too deep into it. I'm basically just going to talk about how you can lose weight. Hashimoto's slows your metabolism a bit. I'm going to say that right now, a bit. Not substantially, unless it's very severe. This is why people use it so often as an excuse, saying, oh, I have a slow metabolism because of Hashimoto's. First of all, if you have been to your doctor and you've had blood tests and they say you don't have it or it's subclinical, you don't have the disease. That is not the reason for you to be obese. If that was the reason and your thyroid levels were so low, you'd probably be experiencing a myriad of other side effects. Your hair would have pretty much all fallen out, your skin would be dry and flaking off, your organs would shut down. But, I guess the only symptom is weight gain. It can't be your fault, it must be your thyroid's. That may seem kind of aggressive, kind of sarcastic, but my first piece of real advice for people with this disease: stop reading the forums. If you want advice, don't go into the Hashimoto subreddit, don't go into any of these forums, don't go into Mumsnet, because half the people on there probably don't even have it and are just self-diagnosing. Like, you can guarantee every day there's at least one person saying, I think I have it, but I've not had a test. If you don't have the data, if you've not had a test, no one can say if you have it or not. Get the test done. You either have it or you don't, is all I'm going to say. If you do have it and you're taking the medication, your body should function like everyone else's. Stop reading these forums, and I'm going to say why. It's because I have been on there before specifically to talk about weight loss. This is when I was still quite massive, and basically just wanted some advice on how do you get started. So I go on there, and some of the advice I get is the most batshit insane pseudoscientific garbage I've heard in my life. Like I was saying, I think I need to drop down to this number of calories, which is below my maintenance. And then they were like, no, you don't. You'll go into starvation mode. You'll go into starvation mode, and then you'll get really fat. I eat like nothing at all, and I'm 300 pounds. And I basically just said, well, if that was the truth, then why did I gain weight when I was eating the amount of calories that you're saying I should eat to lose? And they're like, well, I don't know, it's very complicated. And so, there's a bit of a back and forth, and I was like, a bit weird how, the only research into what you're talking about here as starvation mode is debunked within the only study that can be used to prove it. I kind of linked the study, I've also done a video on that, and then apparently that makes me a fatphobic bigot who doesn't understand science. That was not the only comment thread like that. If you go on the sub in general, any single time someone mentions weight loss, you can guarantee there's going to be some of the worst advice you've ever seen in your life. And then people complain saying, why are we fat? Why have we gained weight? And it's kind of like, hold on, you're giving advice and you're all obese. Why do you think all of you are still obese? Maybe it's because what you're saying works doesn't actually work. I'm going to tell you what does work. And this video will probably be very short because this is very easy to digest and understand. If you want to lose weight, eat less. You calculate your maintenance, you look at your activity level. I will link the website. There are practically an infinite number of free websites that will tell you your maintenance calories. You eat less than that, and you track everything. That is important. You have to track everything, every bit of oil. If you're not logging correctly and you're just kind of guessing, you're not measuring things out, you can't then say, oh, well, I've tried and it doesn't work. My body must be broken. No, you're doing it wrong. You have to calculate your maintenance. You have to then eat less than that. And you have to log everything. Even if you have a cheat day, you have to log that too. That's basically it. That's all you have to do. I didn't even do any exercise, like at all. In terms of diet foods, because people say, why do skinny people just don't eat normal foods? That's not true either. My diet is still so bad. You can eat what you want, just in less quantities. The reason why a lot of people in weight loss and fitness spheres say you should eat certain types of food rather than, a lot of heavily processed stuff is because if you're very active, that kind of food is not nutritious enough to really help you meet those goals. If you're just doing weight loss without overall health or fitness being factored in, the reason why people still say eat less of these kinds of foods is because they are not very filling and they have a lot of calories. So if you're constantly still a bit hungry and you're used to overeating and you're addicted to these foods, if you keep on eating them, you're going to go over your calories before you feel satiated. Another thing I often see people talking about is, oh, well, there's no point in even trying because you're going to gain it all back and you're going to hit your genetic set point and you're going to just maintain it forever and can't get any lower, or you're just going to get big again. I'm going to say why that is. It's not because of genetic set points, because that doesn't exist. It exists for your height, but your height is not like your weight. Because if you could alter your height just through will, I would probably be quite a great deal taller than I am now. If everyone had a genetic set point, then weight gain would also be impossible, but I found people talking about it as if it only prevents weight loss. It's like, if you're genetically set at a certain point, then you would never have been more or less than that in your life, but you keep getting bigger, so that set point clearly doesn't work, or it would work both ways. I hit a plateau for about 2 months without, and that's basically just because I did not put in effort. Like, you get less strict, you kind of rest on your laurels a bit, you stop logging as you should. So over time, you may even gain if you go right back to your old eating habits that made you obese in the first place. If you keep up with it, it's going to continue. And what I'd say as well is, some people, depending on what their calorie goal is, you have to recalculate your maintenance after significant weight loss, because mine has gone down by about 300 calories a day. Because you might accidentally be eating maintenance thinking you're in a deficit, so you have to recheck. You have to see if you're still eating the right amount, and also you still have to keep the same standards. You can't just suddenly think, oh, it's fine, just one thing won't hurt, because then suddenly it's every day, it's just a couple hundred extra calories, which really may not seem a lot. You might not even notice it, but it will get in the way of your goals. If you do hit that plateau and you want to get out of it, what you should do is not just jump right back to only 1,200 a day. Maybe start like 1,400, or give yourself a bit of grace and say, like, oh, every Sunday I'm gonna go a couple hundred over, or just one day a week. Because if you're only doing it one day, that's a lot better than doing it every day. And you can just cut that down over time. And people say you're just going to gain it all back. Yeah, if you go back to your old habits, if you engage with fad diets that are not sustainable, if you don't keep the change going, and your overall calorie consumption becomes very high again, of course you're going to gain it back. That's how it works. And you see a lot of people that are like, oh, well, diets don't work at all. No change in weight is ever long term. It's like, well, you've been gaining for 10 solid years. So if you put the same amount of effort into either not gaining or actively losing, you could go the other way. After a few months or even a few weeks of bringing down your consumption, you just kind of get used to it. This might seem like a bit of a nothing burger, but that's basically all there is to it. I'd say in terms of specific foods, there's not really anything. I eat a lot of cottage cheese, but I know a lot of people find that really gross. I'm personally not a fan of all these recipes where people turn it into like cinnamon rolls I saw the other day. That looks actually disgusting. So I'm not going to say just live off one food or beans or whatever. Like, if that works for you, fine. It didn't for me personally. I'm just saying what worked for me. Just as long as you are not going over your limit, you are fine. It's that easy. If you are medicated with Hashimoto's, your metabolism functions as normal. If your levels are subclinical, then it's not making nearly enough of an impact on your body to cause you to gain significant weight in the first place. If you look up how much weight does Hashimoto's make you gain, the average is 10 to 15 pounds, not 100 pounds. And of that 10 to 15 pounds, a lot of it is water weight. The best way to go about it is to look at things objectively, to actually count your calories, because people massively underestimate what they're eating and massively overestimate what their skinny friends are eating and then put it all down to genetics. If you're just blaming all these invisible other factors like Anna O'Brien, then you're just probably going to end up like she has in this very sad state now where she's literally just paying money to quacks who are promising to fix her. But I have more videos coming her. I've done videos on her. Do not fall down the trap she has where she blames everything on a myriad of diseases which are quite frankly mostly self-diagnosed. Yeah, if you have a health issue, that is on you to sort it out. Medicate, stay up to date with tests, and everything else is just kind of on you. So that's my amazing tips for weight loss with Hashimoto's. Medicate if you have to, and eat less. There. Goodbye.